All right, so for 9-8, solve the equations and inequalities below. And we want to solve these inequalities and these quadratic inequalities. And when we do this, we, we've got the quadratic formula, we've got factoring, we've got completing the square. Um, and so we've got actually a lot of kind of easy methods at our disposal. So when I go to solve this equation, I'm going to see that uh, I'm going to factor it. So we're going to get what x minus 3 times x plus 1, and that's going to be equal to 0. And so then we get x minus 3 equal to 0, so x equals 3. Or we have x plus 1 equals 0 and x equals negative 1. Now, I purposefully didn't use the inequality because these are our boundary points. And so what we do is we look at the number line, and this is largely because it's an inequality, and we look at negative 1, so we've got 0, this is negative 1 at this point, and then 1, 2, 3, and at this point we want to see if it makes the inequality up here true. And so there's three areas that we need to test. We need to test the area less than negative 1. We need to test this area in between negative 1 and 3. And then we need to test greater than 3. Okay, so if I test this area here, and you pick any value you want, I'm going to pick x is equal to negative 2, and I'm going to plug it into that equation, negative 2 squared minus 2 times negative 2 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So then you get 4, and negative 2 times negative 2 is plus 4 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. And so what is that? 8 minus 3 is 5 is less than or equal to 0. Well, that's clearly not true. That's false. Then I look for the value in between negative 1 and 3, and I'm going to pick 0. So when x is 0, I get what? 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So this goes to 0, this goes to 0, so we get negative 3 is less than or equal to 0. And so this is a true statement. So it's true here, false here. And then just to make sure, we need to test the area greater than 3. So I'm going to try x is equal to 4. So then you get 4 squared minus 2 times 4 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So that's what? 16 minus 8 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5 is less than or equal to 0. Is that true? No. So where my answer is true is everywhere in between here. So then x is going to be greater than or equal to negative 1 or less than or equal to 3. And where we have to get into this boundary testing is with inequalities. If this is an equal sign, we're looking for equals, but because of the inequality, we want to see where it makes this true. Now, one quick point is we can also look at a graph of this on a calculator. So if you had a calculator and you have your viewing window like so, and then you have your graph that looks like this. And so let's say, and I'm sketching this in, by no means is it accurate. So we have this point and this point. Well, where is it 0? Well, 0 is right here. So where is this graph less than 0? Well, it's less than 0 here, and we can obviously see that x has to be greater than or negative 1 and less than or equal to 3 to be less than 0. So you need to be able to do both. You need to be able to do it algebraically, and you should also be able to check your answer by looking at the calculator. Because if they ask you, well, why is this the case, then obviously this is what you would want to show.